Hare Krishna. Welcome to the 11th episode of Śrī Īśopaniṣad series, and today's topic is mantra number 10 of Śrī Īśopaniṣad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to this 11th episode, Śrī Īśopaniṣad, mantra 10. Virendra Prabhu is asking, has the video started? Yes, very much. All right. Word to word from here. Anyat. So repeat after me. Anyat eva ahu vidyaya. Anyat ahu avidyaya iti shushruma dhiranam ye nah tat vichachakshire. So line by line, we'll read from here on the top. Prabhuji. Anyadevahur vidyaya Anyadahur avidyaya iti shushrumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. You see here, this word nyat is actually not nyat, it's anyat. So here vidyaya, you see vidyaya and then anyat. If you see the word to word, vidyaya and then anyat. If you join together, it becomes vidyayanyat. So, but because it is in different lines, so we will pronounce the anyat, ahura avidyaya. So we'll chant again. Anyadevahur vidyaya Anyadahur avidyaya iti shushrumadhiranam yenastadvichachakshire. All right. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. So we will map the English and the Sanskrit. Anya devahur vidyaya. So that is, one result is derived from the culture of knowledge. That is the first line. You see? That is Anya devahur vidyaya. Anya dahur avidyaya. And that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. This is the second line. Iti shushruma dhiranam. Actually, you see, shushruma means I heard. So that heard part is not here in this translation. Iti shushruma dhiranam. That means from the wise. From the wise we have heard, or I have heard. And then that is only the wise is here. I have heard from, that is not here. So because they have explained, so it is understood that we are hearing. So iti shushruma. Shushruma means I heard. Does. Iti means does. One result is obtained. What is that? One result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. Thus I have heard from the sober. Dhiranam means here, you see, from the sober. Sober, who is the sober? Okay, we will go to that. Sober means the wise. Sober means the wise. Yenastad vichachakshire, as they have explained to us. See, ye, who to us explained. See, as they have explained to us. So the wise have explained like this, it comes. Alright. Now, this dhiranam. Who is a dhira? We have a definition in the Bhagavad Gita. Very basic verse. Chapter 2, text 13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. So dhira, this is dhiranam. Who is dhira? The sober. Who is this? Sober means what? Sober means one who is not agitated. One who is not agitated by so-called material happiness and so-called material distress. He is not depressed when there is a material distressful condition, and he is not overly elated when there is a materially happy situation or a favorable circumstance. He is just, in both the cases, he is very fixed in his Krishna consciousness, and such a person, you see what happens? As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So when somebody dies, he is not moved, he is not confused, he is not perplexed. He perfectly understands what's going on, that the soul has left the body. And he also understands that we don't live together forever in this material world. So that is sober, who is not, oh, somebody died, okay, they cry until, the voices go, the voices completely, no more. So no, not like that. And he is not confused, and he knows. So that is called sober. And the sobriety will come only with knowledge. Tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. That means he understands all these things. So once you understand things, then you are not confused. If you don't understand, then it is all bewildering. So that is dhiranam. So such dhira, and actually there is another verse, 2:16 also. So such dhira, you see how they come to that understanding? 2:16. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drishtontas Tvanayos Tattvadarshibihi. So the Dhira is also called Tattvadarshibihi because he actually can see the truth. That's why he does not become agitated. How? Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. That means they know that this material body is bound to perish. And of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. The soul will never die and never did it take birth. And the body never had it taken birth and never, it is always a dead thing. And it is bound to just perish. You see, so of the material body there is no endurance, and of the eternal there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. That is the important point. How did they come to become dhira and knowledgeable? Because they have studied in depth. Nature of both means what? Of the impermanent and the permanent, of the material and of the spiritual. So they have studied everything in depth. Then they have come to this wise conclusion that the soul never dies and the body does not actually live. What we call then, what is this body then? Why is it alive? Why it looks all moving? It is just like a glove. If you wear a glove, then that glove moves as you move your hand. So, but the glove is not alive just because it is moving. You inside are moving it. So therefore it moves. Similarly, our body is now moving because of the soul. The soul, we are actually the soul, we are not this body. So this body is like the glove on the soul. So now this body is all moving, but when the soul leaves the body, just like when you remove your hand from the glove will not move. It will have 5 fingers, but it will not move. Just like that, this body will have hands, this body will have legs, this body will have a face, but it will not move. Or a car, vasamsi jirnani. So clothes are one example of how the body is attached to the soul. The other example is the car, a vehicle. So even if it has the best engine in the world, but if there is no driver, it will not move. So similarly, we are the driver of this car, of the material body, and it has a very good engine inside. It has so many parts, it is working all nicely, very well constructed by the mercy of the Lord, and we can use it as long as it is usable. And when the body becomes old and it's no more, just like a car, when it becomes old, then you will just discard it and buy a new car. I don't know if in other countries, but in Singapore, we have to discard our cars in 10 years. How much ever expensive the car is, after 10 years, you have to sell it. If you want to keep it, you can keep it for another 10 years and you have to pay a lot of money to keep that. So everything has a lifetime. So similarly, our body has a lifetime and then soul just goes into another body. So after having studied the nature of both the material and the spiritual natures, they have concluded this. And because of this conclusion, they are very dhira, very sober, very knowledgeable, and they are not agitated by circumstantial movements, situations. Okay. So, iti shushruma dhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. The wise have explained. Now, the other verse 2.16 of Bhagavad Gita, 2.16, we have learned that the material, the body does not last. It will perish one day. The soul will never die. Always is existing. So, that is the nature of the spirit and matter. Now, today's verse, Īśopaniṣad mantra 10, is how the process of material process and the spiritual process. What is material process? Like in ignorance, going after sense gratification. So these things, this is actually material process. Just to enjoy our senses or enjoy our mind. So these things are the material process. Whereas spiritual process means to understand that I am a soul. Oh, I should not participate in this material so-called pious and impious activity. I should engage myself in Krishna's service. So that is Vidyaya, the process of Vidya. So the wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge. the culture of knowledge. To have knowledge is one thing, but to actually act on it, to act on the knowledge is called the culture of knowledge. To realize it. Theoretically, just like in science, there is theory and there is also practical lesson in laboratory. So if H2O is water, then there is, anyway, we are drinking water. If H2O is water, then if hydrogen and oxygen mix together and becomes water, if that is what we learn in the textbooks, that's what we need to prove in the laboratory. So the hydrogen and oxygen is actually mixed and water is formed. Oh, then yes, okay, that is understanding it, realizing it. So that is the culture, that is the practical application of knowledge. See, the Upanishads are a little bit very philosophical. So some people can get, it's like a little bit over the head sometimes. But that's how the Shrutis are. The Smritis, whereas in the like Bhagavatam and Mahabharata, they are very in a story format, so it's easily digestible, especially in Kali Yuga. Whereas Upanishads, it's not easily digestible actually for many people. So sometimes these things seem a little abstract, but just try to be patient and try to understand. These are all practically displayed in the pastimes of devotees, as we learn from Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. All these things are actually evident in the pastimes of the devotees and the Lord. All right. Now, purport. As advised in the chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, 13.8 through 12. 13.8 through 12. One should culture knowledge in the following way. So there are 18, I think, points. Yeah, 18 points. So now we will read that. We will just go to the actual verse. So and we'll come back here. What he is saying in that, 18 through 12. Sorry, 13.8 through 12. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham sthiryam atma vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktir anabhishvangah putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu mayi chananya yogena bhaktir avyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam aratirjana samsadi adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam etagyanam iti proktam ajnanam yadato nyatha. You see. Okay, before we read the whole thing, you see what Krishna is saying at the end? All these are declared to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever they may be is ignorance. So this is the culture of knowledge. So what is that? Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, acharyopasanam, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever they may be, is ignorance. So, today's verse, Anyadevahur vidyaya, anyadahur avidyaya, iti shushrumadhiranam, yenas tadvichachakshire. So, whatever they may be is ignorance other than this. So, this is the culture, what is here is the culture of knowledge, vidyaya. And by cultivating these things, one becomes advanced in spiritual life. And in fact, all these good qualities are automatically visible in the body of a devotee. As we, there are so many things to learn, right? Humility, pridelessness, non-violence. Sometimes some things appear similar, like humility and pridelessness. But you see the Sanskrit. Amanitvam adambhitvam. Amanitvam, that means humility, not expecting any respect from others. That is humility. And pridelessness means not to think great of oneself. Pridelessness. Adambhitvam, dambha. Dambha means like pride. So mana means respect. Amanitvam, that means not expecting respect. So that is what Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena. You see, amanina means to not expect respect. That is humility. But manadena, mana means respect, dena, we have to give respect to others, but not expect respect in return. Amanina manadena kirtaniya sada. In that humble and tolerant mood, one can actually chant Hare Krishna all the time. Why we can't chant many rounds? Because we don't have these qualities. What is that? Humility and tolerance. That is the key. Amanitvam adambhitvam. So amanina manadena. So you see, in English, humility and pridelessness kind of seems the same, sounds the same, but it is not. So when you know the Sanskrit, then you will understand more closely. Another anahankara. Again, if you see the English translation, humility is one thing, and pridelessness is one thing, right? Now, absence of false ego. Again, this also sounds the same thing, right? But this is different again. That means the sense of I am the doer, that is not there. I am the doer of something, that is not there. False ego, false identity, or false to think that I am this body, that is false ego. To identify with myself as the body and my bodily extension. I belong to this family, I belong to this nation, I belong to this race, I belong to this species. All these things are ahankar, false identification. So that is anahankara. And humility means not to expect any respect from others. That means we should do our best always and should never expect respect. Not that, I did something good for him and then he did not say anything. We cannot be demanding it. That is humility. And not even think about it. I don't deserve any respect, just like the acharyas. Of course, it is not to be imitated. We are not in that plane where, like, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying that I am worse than the worm in the stool. He is so humble. So that kind of humility is very high grade. If one can think like that, that is very high grade. So of course we must work towards that. So that is humility, and pridelessness means not to, what is that? Dambha means pride. To think highly of oneself. I have done this, I have done. So these things. So there is slight differences. So sometimes when we see the words when they like sound similar, actually they are not really similar. There is slight differences there. Okay. So these are the things that are to be expected in a person who has all the knowledge. Now, what is knowledge? What is education? Okay, we have a couple of verses. In the 9th chapter, 2nd verse. Actually, the 4th chapter also is full about knowledge. transcendental knowledge. 9th chapter also. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartamavyayam. This knowledge, the means of Krishna consciousness, is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So this Krishna consciousness is the king of education, and that is confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto, 5th chapter, verses 23 and 24. Shri Praharaduvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoh Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishno Bhaktischennava Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tanmanye Dhitamuttamam. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming His servant, considering the Lord one's best friend and surrendering everything unto Him. In other words, serving Him with body, mind and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. See that? That is complete knowledge. Who has dedicated his life to Krishna through these 9 methods is understood to be the most learned person. He has acquired complete knowledge. So that is culture of knowledge. And although there are so many things that, humility, pridelessness, this, that, there are so many good things that we need to cultivate, these are automatically found when we, in a devotee. When one practices devotional service, automatically all these qualities come. Like pride. Pride by killing animals, that is also pride, because we think that our lives matter, but their animals' lives don't matter. Just like now there is a Black Lives Matter, because probably the white were thinking our lives matter more than your lives, kind of consciousness. So that is pride. And to think that animal lives don't matter, only human lives matter, that is also pride. So animal killing comes from pride. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunaistatra samasate surah harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena sati dhavato bahihi. Virendra Prabhu is saying the screen is watery. What is that? I don't know. For me it looks fine. For me, I think the live stream is going well without any interruption and without any delay. So let me know in the comments if everything is alright for you, everybody. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.12. So here, all the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge and renunciation become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in the material activities has no good qualities. So that is the culture of nescience. So those, okay, everybody says it's good, looks fine, alright. So if we, so here also in this verse you can see the culture of knowledge and nescience. So one who is in devotional service, automatically all the religion, knowledge and renunciation become manifest in the character of the devotee, if he is practicing nicely. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, which is, by the way, in the culture of nescience. To just maintain the family, some people think it is very honorable to maintain family members. Oh, I'm taking care of my family. But actually, that's still in the culture of nescience. It is not counted among the culture of knowledge. Whereas materially, it is counted among the culture of knowledge. Like an educated person is supposed to take care of his family and have a stable job and also be faithful to his family and provide for his family. So that is considered an educated man's behavior. But according to Vedic scriptures, even that does not come under the purview of education. It is not that one should neglect the family. That is not what is being told here. The thing is, just to maintain materially the family members, it is found even in animals. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithuna. Maithuna means sex. So, sex life, is the cause of family life, and the responsibility of taking care of the family members. Everything is comes under that. So, that is one of the principles of animal life as well. So, that itself, without Krishna consciousness, just maintaining family members, it's nowhere. It is not knowledge. It is still in the field of ignorance. So even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga, even if a mystic yogi, all getting yogic powers, even that is nescience, because it's all material. Everything is all that is material, yogic powers. As fantastic as it may seem, or they can control other people's minds, they become lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest, but ultimately it doesn't help. It has nothing to do with the soul. So it's still in the culture of nescience. So we should not get attracted to these attractive features of ignorance. This is Maya or Vaibhav. This is the opulence of Maya with the glittering effect of Maya, which is actually untrue. So even if he is adept at all these things, he must, even at the honest endeavor of maintaining his family members and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy, which is Maya, which is also called avidya, which is ignorance. Maya is ignorance. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? So a person who is culturing or cultivating the process of nescience or ignorance, he can have no good qualities. He can have no good qualities. So that is explained in this verse. Okay, you know what? You just excuse me for a while, because it's affecting my eyes. I can't let that be on. Okay, you just excuse me for 1 minute. I'll just come back. Alright, I'm sorry about that. There was this air condition that was on and it was blowing into my face and my eyes were getting all dry. So, my eyes were tearing up. Okay. So, this is the culture of knowledge and nescience. Okay, so there are, many verses, but just that we can just take another one. What is that? यस्यात्मबुद्धेः गुणपेत्रि धातुके Svadhihi kalatrādishu bhauma ijyadhihi yattirtha buddhihi salilena karhichit janeshvabhigneshu sa eva gokharaha. So, here it is said, one who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own, who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, worships or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth, such a person is no better than a cow and an ass. So, if you have understood. So, whoever thinks that this body which is made of, what is this body made of? Mucus, bile and air. Basically, Tridhatu. According to Ayurveda, this is Tridhatu. So, Kapha, Pitta and Vata or Vayu. So, these are the ingredients, and whenever there is an imbalance in these elements, one gets sick. So, that is how Ayurvedic treatment or analysis is. So, one who identifies this body with his self, he is an ignorant person, and if he thinks his wife and family are his own, then that is ignorance. And one who thinks an earthen image, means, deity is not an earthen image, is authorized form, but if you just worship stone, like in India there are some villages, there's some stone, they will just tie a cloth and then they'll start worshipping it under the tree and then start building some temple on it. These kind of thing is not is also a feature of ignorance. In fact, if you worship stone, you'll become a ghost. It is said. So, but Archa Vigraha, that is totally different. When Krishna comes in the form of in the form of any of these, sand or stone or metal or wood or paint and all these things. So that is not earthen image. That is not just some whimsical worship. That is authorized worship. In fact, Krishna himself, when he was speaking to Uddhava, he established the whole deity worship. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also established deity worship when he was explaining to Sanatana Goswami and asked him to write books on how to do deity worship and everything. So, and one who worships his land of birth, the patriotism, if one is patriotic about his land of birth, yes, I belong to this country, we are, this is all feature of ignorance. Because again, it springs from the bodily concept of life. And then one who goes to a pilgrimage only to bathe there in the water, in the river, but then never associates with the devotees and doesn't hear about Krishna topics. So that is actually a feature of ignorance, because a cow or an ass also does all these things. The ass or a cow also thinks they are, the material body, and their family members are their own, and they also, wherever they are, they don't want to move. They actually are attached to their land also. Like even the dogs, if you see, they have their own demarcation of area, and if another dog comes, they protect. They fight with them. They protect their flock from the foreigner dog. So he has to get visa, otherwise, So similarly, so that is visible in the animals, and same with the humans also. We have border controls based on who is qualified and not qualified to enter. So this is like that, is and also to fight, especially fight as a war and all that, based on identification with the country. So these things are features of ignorance. And one who goes to pilgrimage and just drinks and bathes in the water, holy rivers, even a cow can do that. Like sometimes cow go into the temple, or sometimes donkeys or dogs, all these common animals, they go into the temple premises, they also, but they don't hear about Krishna. So these are all features of ignorance. So going back to the verse, so those things that are mentioned in that 13.8 through 12, that is explained in English here. One should culture knowledge in the following way. One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. You see, this is humility. In the in actual verse, it was translated as humility. But if you see amanitvam, that means Not expecting respect, but giving respect to others. One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. 2. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. Adambhitvam. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, or by his words. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by thoughts of his mind, or by his words. One should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. Tolerance. Even in the face of provocation from others. One should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. One should be straightforward and honest. One should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization, to the stage of, and one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service and ask relevant questions. See, one should search out a bona fide spiritual master and surrender to him and ask relevant questions. So this is actually 4.34. Acharyopasanam. Taking shelter of a spiritual master means how to do it. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinah. So that is explained here. One must surrender, one must ask relevant questions, and one must serve the spiritual master. In that way, one has to surrender. And then, in order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the revealed scriptures. One must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. One should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization. One should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body. One should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own. One should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease and death. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. This is called Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. One should not be more attached to wife, children and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. One should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead Śrī Krishna and serve him with rapt attention. One should develop a liking for residence in a secluded place with a calm and quiet atmosphere favorable for spiritual culture, and one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. This is good for one's own spiritual life, but then as preachers we have to live. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was the exact opposite. He wanted to live in the most congested parts of the world. And if there's a big city, yes, in the heart of the city you should have our temple. That was his thinking always. And even Prahlad Maharaj also said like that. So this is for preaching, to help them. But for oneself, one should stay away from the people. So how to do this? That one should stay away from them and then one should preach to them. How to do these both things? So therefore we have temple where devotees can congregate and one can stay away from non-devotee association, but at the same time when we preach, then we go and give our association and not take their association. So this is how it is done. So residence in a secluded place alone, or you can be in the association of devotees. Actually there is a, there is a verse 996 I think, no 9651. Let me see. Yeah, 9651. Okay, let's go there and come back. So Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 6th chapter, 51st verse. Yes. Sangam tyajeta mithuna vratinam mukshuh sarvatmanana visrajet bahirindriyani ekascharan rahasi chittam ananta ishe Yunjita tadvratishu sadhushu chet prasangah. A person desiring liberation from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and should not employ his senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on. A person desiring liberation, he should behave like this. One should always stay in a secluded place, completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. And especially for Kali Yuga, it is advised that we stay together with devotees, because alone we are not as strong to keep ourselves strong against the attack of Maya. Because there have been instances even in Satya Yuga, when the time was much more favorable for spiritual cultivation, sages have fallen prey to materialistic desires like Vishwamitra Muni and many others. So Shaubhari Muni. So there are these examples. So especially in Kali Yuga, where everything is like just like Ajamil, how he fell down, how he became such a sinful man. Because he was alone, he saw a prostitute, having a relationship with a man and getting intimate, and he lost his control. And nowadays, even publicly, everybody is doing it, kissing and all that. So these things disturb, and alone, our mind, especially in Kali Yuga, very, very disturbed. What is that? Prayenalpayushah sabhya kalavasmin yogejana mandah sumanda matayo manda bhagyah upadruta. Upadruta, this is Bhagavatam 1.1.10. Disturbed, always disturbed. This is especially in Kali Yuga, so disturbed and distracted. So therefore, it is better to stay in the association of devotees, and that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also taught us this Sankirtan Yajna. What is that? Sangopangastra Parshadam, Krishna Varnam Dvasha Krishnam, Sangopangastra Parshadam. So there is Sangha, there is this, and then Yajnaihi Sankirtana Prayayat. So Sankirtan Yajna means congregational chanting, not alone chanting or crying in the wilderness, crying in the forest. No, with devotees. One should always, So if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. And the Sanskrit is Yunjita tadvratishu sadhushu chet prasanga. Prasanga. You see? Prasanga, one wants association. Tadvratishu, with persons of the same category, desiring liberation from material bondage. So, in this way one has to live. One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. When we talk about the scientists, we are not talking about becoming Albert Einstein or some, Thomas Edison. We are not talking about them. Scientist means, they are not scientists. Real scientist means one who understands the signs of existence. Now the so-called scientists, they do not know that we are the soul. Actually it is science. It is not just a matter of faith that we are thinking we are the soul, we are having faith that we are the soul. No. It is completely scientific. This Krishna consciousness movement is scientific. We are the soul, and the dimension of the soul. See, scientific means everything is detail, right? So there is dimension of the soul, how big the soul is, or how small rather. So it is 1/10,000th the tip of the hair, the upper portion of the hair. If you take the hair, the upper portion is so fine, and then you divide that into 10,000 parts, that one part is the size of the soul. Balagrashata bhagasya shatadhakalpitasya cha jivo bhago savigneha sachanantyaya kalpate. The Upanishads are explaining this science. So this is a science. The real science is this, science of God. God is not just a matter of faith. It's a science. He is the source of everybody is, what is the scientist researching on? Some space exploration, or they're digging the earth to find what is in the earth, and all kinds of things they're doing. But Krishna is saying, I am the owner of all these things. So the real science is to not only understand all the things, but also to understand the knower of the things. as well. So that is entire culture of science. So one should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge. So we have to, research means we don't have to get a microscope and telescope and try to do some research with our senses. We're not going to get far with our senses. Research means we have to study the scriptures in depth. Sitting in one place, just by reading the scriptures, which are apaurusheya, they are not written by imperfect human beings. They are written by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So He has given us, for example, Jalajanava Lakshani Sthavara Lakshavimsati Krimayo Rudra Sankhyakaa Pakshinam Dasalakshanam Trimshal Laksha Chatushpada Chatul Laksha Manusha. The number of species in each category is mentioned in the Padma Purana. There are 900,000 types of fish, and there are 2 million types of trees, 1.1 million types of reptiles and insects, and 1 million species of birds, 3 million species of quadrupeds, which are four-legged animals, and finally 400,000 human species. Sitting in one place, we have the entire knowledge of all the species. Whereas the scientists, they are, every now and then they're finding out a new species. Oh, never before found, never before seen. When they went to that Mariana Trench, and they saw there were fish there. How much atmospheric pressure there is at Mariana Trench. Mariana Trench is 11 kilometers deep. 11 kilometers deep under the ocean. There's no way there is any sunlight there. Completely pitch dark. And the amount of water that is there, 11.7 kilometers, I don't know, 11.3 kilometers or something like that. So that much amount of water, apart from the already the atmospheric pressure which is already there. The amount of pressure that is there under those circumstances is unimaginable. How they went to that Mariana Trench. They had this very, very strong, like a what is that? Like a submarine kind of thing. So they stay inside that, and that walls are so thick that they can hold off that water, which is so, when you go under the water, the pressure is immense. In fact, when the divers, those who are divers, when they dive deep into the water, they cannot immediately go all the way down. They have to go gradually down and down and down and down, step by step, because if they go just down like that, the change in atmospheric pressure will, and they can only go until so far, I think a few hundred meters down. They can't go beyond that, because the human body cannot take the pressure. The body will implode. The body will be crushed. Just like, when a truck is on a hand, what will happen when a truck, the pressure of the truck, just it becomes, like a chapati. So that's what will happen in the Mariana Trench. The pressure is so much that if the humans they went there, they went in this capsule of this thick walls and all, and if that somehow under the pressure it collapsed, and if the capsule actually was not there, and if they went in the capsule and they opened the doors of the capsule, finished, they will be crushed, inside. That is how it is. But there were fish going. How are they managing the mammoth pressure under the water? Krishna has given them the body to live there. We think it is impossible to live in such conditions. This is our, stupidity. The scientists think that nobody can live in the sun. So hot, millions of degrees, who can live? But there is suitable body to live there. Just like in the Mariana Trench, there is suitable body for the fish to live there. He can hold off that pressure of immense, how many thousands of atmospheres, I don't know what is the calculation. But that much amount of weight he can hold, and he can swim as if there is nothing. So these are, they are just finding, when they went there, oh, there is a new species here, wow, never before heard, never before seen this fish. But we, sitting in one place, don't have to go all the way deep down and then risk our lives there, but we can understand how many species in aquatics and how many trees and everything, one place. And what are the speeds of the planets, what is the orbit, like astrology for example, they calculate, how they calculate, just sit down in one place and calculate. How they know what the planets moving where and what, how are they situated, everything, how they know? There is a science Krishna has revealed. So if we study that science, that is proper research. That means we actually have to study the scriptures that are already given to us. Then we can understand everything. There's no, in fact, if with our own senses, if we try to do research, so-called quote unquote research, that is very imperfect because our senses are imperfect. So one should become a scientist, a philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. So these 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nescience. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great Acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusory energy and that by culturing them one becomes no better than an ass. We have seen that in the song Vidyar Vilasya, yesterday's episode. We have gone through the entire song. So that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, you see, it makes an ass out of the eternal soul. The same principle is found here in Śrī Īśopaniṣad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians in spiritual guise decry the present system of civilization as satanic, but unfortunately they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus they cannot change the satanic situation. This is so important. Just to criticize something, like for example the materialistic civilization, is not enough. There has to be an alternative. Similarly, in our ISKM, ISKCON, after Prabhupada's departure, they are leading people into the path of ignorance by teaching them that the Diksha Guru doesn't have to be a pure devotee. That's a path of nescience, path of ignorance they are teaching them. So we can criticize them, but then if we don't have an alternative, a viable, if we don't care about the culture, as it said, a culture of real knowledge, then we cannot change the situation. So just by harping on, they're wrong, doesn't do any good. Doesn't mean that everything becomes right automatically. No. We have to, just like Prabhupada, when he saw that his god brothers were not carrying forward the preaching mission of Gaudiya Math that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started, he went and he continued with actually what is necessary to do, that is to preach. So he went and did. So that's what we need to do as well. We should understand, yes, there is wrong there, but that's not the end of it. That's just like, as I said in the Ritvik webinar series in the last episode, that's just 10% of it to understand what is wrong. Now, next thing is to understand what is right, and even that is not much. To act on it, that is the real deal. And to help everybody on the right platform, that is the correct thing to do. So here also it is said, some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys decry the present system of civilization as satanic, but unfortunately they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus they cannot change the satanic situation. In the modern society, even a boy thinks himself self-sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men. Due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. In fact, nowadays it is you can call the police if parents they scold or try to chastise or discipline the child. They can call the police and get the parents arrested. This is the kind of civilization that is going on in the present moment. Thus, Śrī Īśopaniṣad very strongly warns that the culture of nescience is different from that of knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nescience only, or ignorance, as much as we want, as much as they are under the Ministry of Education, but they are actually the Ministry of Nescience. So, the ignorance that is being perpetrated by the so-called universities, because the university is just teaching us how to earn a livelihood, and that too in the not in the proper way that Krishna has prescribed, in their own ways, in this industrialization, urbanization, and that is actually killing the natural life, human life. Somebody shared with me a photo on WhatsApp, one of the devotees. This was in India. So this mother, she tore the certificate of the son, electrical engineering certificate. She tore the certificate. What is the use of this certificate? Why? Because her son couldn't repair a fan, an electric fan, and it was summer, and now it is summer, you see, and it's so hot in India. It's 40 plus degrees Celsius, and the fan was not working. Her son was an electrical engineer, certified, and he got 4 years. He studied electrical engineering, and he couldn't repair the fan. The mother got so angry that she went and tore the certificate. What is the use of this certificate? So we are learning things, and we don't even. In fact, Prabhupada also said that what is that degree in agriculture? There is agricultural degree or something, but the guy never goes to the farm and actually does farming with his hand. The farmer, on the other hand, without any education, he can do everything that is needed to grow the crop. But this agriculturist is so-called intellectually studies agriculture, but then doesn't at all go and dirty his hands in the soil. So this is the kind of education that is, even materially also, it is becoming very useless. What to speak, spiritually already it is gone, but even materially it is useless. I'm an electrical engineer, 4 years he has studied, he cannot repair a fan. That's completely very hilarious. So the universities are, so to speak, centers of nations only. Consequently, scientists are busy. And even if they are, they are accomplished in their thing and they can do what is necessary. 1 second. If they can do what is necessary, but you see where they are getting to? They are creating the social media, they are creating the games. Just people are just wasting their time and wasting their lives. And they're, on the other hand, they're creating the nuclear weapons and fighting and all these things. And some say that the coronavirus was created in a laboratory, and if that was true, what is the result of that? Education and biology and all that science, and if that is the result of all that education. So in fact, it is not anymore a hidden thing. That it is a fact that they were already exploring bio warfare. Whether this was a byproduct of that may be speculation, but the endeavor is there. Bio warfare, chemical warfare, cyber warfare, all these things, warfare at all levels, trade war, all these kinds of things. That is the result of today's education. We are fighting and snarling like cats and dogs. So these actually, in the name of education, universities and this and that, there's a big culture of nations that is, and in but let's be actually very honest. In universities, the boys and girls just get together, and then there is no restraint in association. They just freely mix, and so many illicit sex are going on in universities, and people start to have sex in that age, and then so many sinful activities are done at that age. So where is the knowledge? It's a complete. It's a hub of nations. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate student life. Exactly what we were saying. You see? Okay, before that, the universities are, so to speak, centers of nations only. Consequently, scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. Is this education? They say defense, but they are going on the offense. So they say, so many things, they say, but it is just like animal life. a much more dangerous animal life. Animals are not as dangerous. They also defend. They have their claws, they have their teeth, they bite and fight, but they don't cause mass destruction like we do. So that is our big problem. If actually we think the coronavirus is so dangerous, the humans are the worst virus on this planet. Every other species is being tormented by the human race. They are the biggest virus on the planet. And now that this virus, human virus, has been quarantined, the other species had some time to breathe. Now that they say Black Lives Matter, and then the tagline is I can't breathe, because unfortunately that man George Floyd, he was, he couldn't breathe, he was, you know what happened. So the animals can't breathe. We're not allowing them to even breathe. You see the slaughterhouses, the farms, animal farms, how they are so tightly packed up, but they can't even breathe properly, and then killing them. They can't even have their life. So, animal lives matter? Do they? They don't even care. Pride, too much pride. No. You're meant for my enjoyment. Your life is just for my tongue only. That's it. How much pride, you see that? How much pride? Okay, just imagine, remove that animal and put a man there, a human. Say, maybe a black. Now you see, one black has been killed, in America. And it's such a big commotion now, everywhere. Right? But so if if a black man has, his life matters, then why the animal's life don't matter? Doesn't matter. Why? Why they should be eaten by humans? Why do we think that we are so proud? Why should we be so proud that we should kill them? That is why these movements are completely imperfect movement. So-called Black Lives Matter. Trying to understand racism and trying to understand equality. They can never. All these are just some farce. Because on the other hand, they're just killing animals. What about them? This is complete duplicity and what is the other word? What is that? Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. This is hypocrisy. So therefore, only a devotee, he can see Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Swapakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Only a devotee's vision is very broad. He sees every living entity as equal, because he understands that they are actually the part and parcel of Krishna. And everybody is a soul as much as I am. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu yaha pashyati sa pandita. Matravat paradareshu paradraveshu loshtravat. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu yaha pashyati sa pandita. So the pandita means, a learned man means, he must treat others as he would like to be treated himself. If it gives him distress when somebody puts a knife on the throat or the knee on the throat or whatever, then how can we do that to the animals? He cannot treat others if that is not the way he would like to be treated. Or in other words, he should treat them as he would like to be treated. That is actual Pandita, learned man. And it is not only limited to humans, everybody. Everybody. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate student life. In fact, if they see that you are celibate, wow, something wrong with you, or are you gay, or what is happening? So this is what they think. Celibate means something is really wrong with you. You need some psychological advice or some counseling. This is how they think nowadays. Actually, they need psychological advice. Anyway, psychological advice doesn't even work, because they're trying to solve the problem at the platform of the mind. No, it doesn't work. Higher than the mind is intelligence, and higher than the intelligence is the soul, and the solution comes from that stratum, the soul, the stratum of the soul. That's where Bhagavad Gita comes in. Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual solution for all problems, because the Supreme Spirit, Krishna, He is speaking it, and He is speaking the science of the soul to understand who we are. Then we can know why we are facing the problem, because we are in an incompatible situation. We are spirit, we are eternal, but we are trapped in this material world, in this body which is temporary. material and temporary, but we are spirit and eternal. So we are in an incompatible situation. It's like putting a square in a round hole, which is bigger than the hole. So you can't fit it. So just like if you have a plug, and from other countries, and then you come here and it doesn't go through, it's incompatible. You need an adapter, right? But here the adapter means bhakti. With bhakti, anywhere, whether material or spiritual world, he can live, because he is converted. Just like if there is an adapter for that plug, it is just like as if it's in the country of origin, right? So there's no difference, although he may be connected to here. So similarly, it's a very crude example, but you get the idea. So he can adapt anywhere if he is spiritually intact, if he has bhakti, if he is engaged in devotional service. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahetu ki tvayi. King Kulashekar also says the same thing. Prahlad Maharaj, all pure devotees say the same thing. I don't mind being in this material world, birth after birth. Even Rukmini also says the same thing. What is that? Jahyam ason vrata krishan shata janma bhisyat. I can be here for hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes, engaged in devotional service. So that is how pure devotee thinks, feels, and he can actually do it. For very long he can stay in this material world without being disturbed, because he is engaged in devotional service. And wherever there is devotional service, there is also the Lord. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam. What is that? Sarvagatam tasmad sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. That is 3:15 of Bhagavad Gita. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. Acts of sacrifice, yajna, is devotional service. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat tapassasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. So this is devotional service. So in the acts of devotional service, the all-pervading transcendence, Krishna, is situated. So Krishna, that's why he told Narayana, he told Narada Muni, Yatra gayanti madbhakta tatra tishthami Narada, naham tishthami vaikunthe yoginam hridayeshu va. So he says, it is not that I just live in the Vaikuntha or in the temple or in the hearts of the yogis. Wherever my devotees are glorifying me, that is my place of residence. So the Lord is there where his devotees are glorifying him or serving him with love. So therefore the devotee, even though he may be in this material world, he is actually in the spiritual world, because he is always with the Lord. As Radharani said, when Krishna is in front of me, I can see him in one place. When Krishna is not in front of me, I can see him everywhere. The entire universe is filled with him. So in fact that presence is even more than meeting. So this is what we need to understand. And university students are not given instructions on regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate. So it's completely so-called sex education. They just teach them how to have quote-unquote safe sex. But what is that safe sex? Contraceptive, and get into all kinds of sinful activities. This is their so-called safe sex. Complete misrepresentation of education at all. It's not at all education. And there is where they find their partners and again do family life and everything. Where is the education there at all? Nor do they have any faith in scriptural injunctions. After the university, the people are like, all the so-called science students, graduates. I'm a scientist, I don't believe in religion and all that, and I'm modern and I'm a very logical person. What logic? Did you accept your father on logic? Did you test his DNA and accept him? Or what? Did you accept him on logic or no? No, right? You just accepted your mother's word. And then everything, you are taking a plane ticket. Is there a logic that this plane would go there? It's a faith. It's faith. So they talk all big words, but actually they don't even follow those things. So just that we have to now have faith in God, faith in the perfect person. Faith we're always having in anything. Even when we go to the barber, Prabhupada said, we are spreading our neck and then allowing him to shave. He can cut our neck and we die in 1 second. But we are having the faith that the barber will not do it. No, he will not do it. But he can do it. He can if he wants. Yeah, he will go to jail, he will go through all that, but he can do it. Whether he goes to jail or you are already dead, right? So, it can happen. And if somebody is actually mentally something deranged, he is having a psychological problem or something, and if he happen to a barber, he can do it. Sometimes we see people, nobody expects somebody to go and shoot around on the streets, right? But we have those incidences in America and other parts of the world. We have seen those incidences where they just go and shoot. Sometimes they are terrorists, sometimes they are just crazy, mentally deranged. You don't expect that to happen, but it can happen. Similarly, a barber may go bonkers and he can kill, but we have the faith. So, faith we always have, but we have in the wrong thing. It can fail at any time, but Krishna will never fail. So, we have to have faith in his words. But our modern education, so-called universities teach that, so-called, logical thinking, critical thinking, this, that. But no submission, no surrender to the Lord. So that is the effect. And then they will become more and more godless, more and more atheistic, and more they will have problems. The more people become atheistic, the more they're going to have problems. Religious principles, they do not have any faith in scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action. This is so true. If you want to go, you can have some club, some religious club, you can go there, and or you can go to the church, or you can go to the temple or mosque, and like that. It's your personal faith matter. It has nothing to do with our practical lives. So in other words, practically mentioning it like, it's kind of impractical, but if you still want to do it, fine, you can do it in your own way, but don't bring it into the mainstream life. Mainstream is the economics, that's what matters, and so-called education which fuels the economics. Totally misdirected civilization, totally misdirected. So they think religion is not something for practical action. As Prabhupada, was so many times he said, we have free solution to stop crime, to stop all kinds of family problems, everything, and so many social problems, everything we can stop just by chanting. But they don't want to give facility for this free thing which is so easily available, this complete solution for all problems, and we can freely speak to everybody without a charge. We can speak to everybody. Now these live stream every day we are conducting. A consultant, for a consultant, they charge by the minute. 1 hour if you want to sit with the consultant, get some counseling or some knowledge or some course or something, they'll charge how many exorbitant dollars. We're freely distributing. What is attendance? 35 people on this video. But those were charging in university so much, people are getting into debt. After university, the student starts with a debt. So and they will pay all that. But here, free education which can stop all problems, nobody is interested. Nobody. That is the present state of civilization. Completely in ignorance. Not in the slightest interested in this whole thing. And they think it is not practical. You can have your faith, or no faith, it doesn't matter at all. They think like this. And they want to teach some morality, they want to teach some safe sex here, and then they have some, so much hospital bills for all this, for, what is that? Abortion and all these things, all sinful activities are going on, and millions of dollars are spent on saving people from drug abuse or crimes, or all these things can be solved. Just very free solution is there. But they prefer to spend those millions and billions of dollars rather than give facility for the religionists, real religion. Of course, in the name of religion, so many quacks are also there. The whole world is filled with that. And there is one more reason why people think religion is irrelevant, but it's if the real religion, when it is understood, the Bhagavad religion is the most relevant answer, and actually it is the answer for all problems in this world. The answer. There's no other answer. These Īśopaniṣad 18 verses can solve the entire world's problems. What we are discussing here is not some cheapskate stuff. It is the highest education, Rajavidya. That is what we are discussing here, and the implications of these is so vast. But they again give hype to all these conferences or this and that, their whole budgeting and all that, so many things. But it's just a big chaos. It's a big mess. The whole thing, the whole world is in a big mess. Just don't know how to manage, don't know what is what, don't know what is right and what is wrong. Simply doing whimsically whatever they want. And this is the state of the world affairs now. Thus there is animosity not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well. In the name of religion also people fighting. Oh, my religion is better, your religion is bad. In this way, religious tensions flare up, and then it will cause another problem. So, if one understands that actually God is one, and to attain love for Him is the actual religion, doesn't matter which school one comes from, whether Christianity or Muslim or Hindu or wherever one comes from, one has to come to the point of loving God, understanding God and loving Him, and that is actually religion. So when one does not have that sense of understanding, then they will think, oh, in this way, that way, my religion, your religion, this and that. So this is all another feature of ignorance. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world due to the cultivation of nations by the general people. No one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space along with many other lumps. In comparison to the vastness of space, these material lumps are like dust particles in the air. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves, that means it has its own atmosphere, it has everything. So our sustenance there's no need of taking anything from another planet and bringing it here. Whatever is already here is good enough to maintain the entire, that's why they say ecosystem, right? It's already made. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, again coming back to that verse, they are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. The drivers of our spaceships, just now, 2 days or 3 days back, there was this Launch America. They had the first commercial spacecraft that docked in the International Space Station, and they went inside, So that, and actually after 8 years they're doing that again, something like that. So anyway, so all that, you see, how many, that was also a live stream. Now here we have 32 people here. Just now it was 35. I think after this, I think 3 people did not like. Now 32 only. So that live stream, the Launch America live stream, I just noticed it because I wanted to notice how much these people get attention. I was not interested in I was interested before I came to Krishna consciousness. I was interested in avionics and aeronautical engineering. That was one of my passions, apart from martial arts and some other things. So I was very much interested in these things. But the other day when I saw this news, I just saw their live stream and how they do their live streams. So I was just thinking to get some ideas for our own festivals when we, in the future, if possible, we can do live streams of our festivals and how they do. That was actually something I learned there. So, but it takes a lot of effort to do it in a temple setting with such less manpower and no budget and everything. So anyway, I was just seeing how much attention they get. How many people were watching? Let me think. Let me just recollect. I think it's about, the last I saw before I slept in the night was 330,000 people watching it live. 330,000 people watching it live on YouTube. It was also broadcasted on Facebook, also broadcasted on many other platforms. I don't know, Twitch or I don't know. And maybe their own, maybe other YouTube channels, whatever. On YouTube alone, in one of the channels, I think many channels are maybe broadcasting the same thing, the news channel. But I think it's Launch America, I think it's by NASA themselves. So they were themselves doing it. And 330 on YouTube alone, 330,000. That much attention for these spaceships, you see. The drivers of our spaceships may be very proud of their achievements. And these two drivers, they were actually going there to the International Space Station. And it was a big thing, big farewell, and every big thing, so much hype. But they do not consider the supreme driver of these greater, more gigantic spaceships called planets. And Krishna is the driver of all of them, and he confirms that in the Bhagavad Gita as well. Let's see if I remember. 15:12, I think. Yeah, 15:13. 15.13 Bhagavad Gita. Gama vishya bhutani dharayamyaham pushnami chaushadhihi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. See that? Krishna is the driver of all these gigantic spaceships called planets. But how much credit does he get? His topics, 30 people, now 32 to 30 now. It's dropping. When I started watching, I think I watched for about 10 to 15 minutes, what all kinds of things they show for a live stream. So when I started it, it was about 220,000. And within 15 minutes, 330,000. 110,000 people came on board the live stream, and it was going on already. When I actually entered the live stream, it was about 45 minutes into the live stream already, and people were watching for that long, and it was increasing. The numbers were increasing, and next day the people actually, those two pilots actually, they went to the international and they had a video of that, and within 12 hours that video has been posted, 4 million views on YouTube alone, Facebook even more maybe. So just imagine how much credit we give to these small space engineers compared to the real space engineer Krishna. There are innumerable suns and innumerable planetary systems also. As infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, we small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. Thus, we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. We are trying to dominate these planets, but then how we are done repeatedly birth and death, we go to another planet and go to another planet. In this way, whichever planet we are, we try to control that planet as much as we can. Even in animal life, they try to control as much as they can, but they cannot control as much as humans. So in this way, and demigods, they want to control even more, This tendency to control is all the way there. We small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. Thus, we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. The span of human life is scheduled for about 100 years. Although it is gradually decreasing to 20 or 30 years. It is said that by the end of Kali Yuga, people will be just maximum 20 to 30 years old. Nobody will grow more than that. Nobody can survive more than that. So it will become so bad, the conditions of life and the amount of fighting that goes on, like cats and dogs, worse than cats and dogs, worse than even rats, worse than cockroaches. People will become just horrendous. It's just become complete chaos. That's when Kalki will come and rejuvenate the situation and starts the next Satya Yuga. But by the end of Kali Yuga, actually now already it's not 100 years. It's kind of already like maybe averaging about 70 to 80, sometimes 90. But it will go down and down and down more and more. And it will come to a point of 20 to 30 years. Thanks to the culture of nations, befooled men have created their own nations within these planets in order to grasp sense enjoyment more effectively for these few years that we live on this planet. Such foolish people draw up various plans to render national demarcations perfectly, a task that is totally impossible. Yet, for this purpose, each and every nation has become a source of anxiety for others. More than 50% of a nation's energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoiled. 50%, more than 50% is just for defense measures, just for fighting. That is education. Educated, dogs, educated dogs. Dogs fight with their, free, their claws and their teeth. And here, with such expensive, such grand arrangements for defense. More than 50% of a nation's energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoiled. No one cares for the cultivation of real knowledge, yet people are falsely proud of being advanced in both material and spiritual knowledge. Śrī Īśopaniṣad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad Gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, knowledge, must be acquired from a Dhira. So the teacher, now everywhere there are in the education system, there are so many teachers, so-called qualified teachers, but real teacher means a Dhira. Iti Shushruma Dhiranam Yenastadvicha Chakshire. They explained. I have heard it from the Dhira, the one who is actually in knowledge of the Atma Tattvam. Atma Tattvam in Sanskrit means the knowledge of spirit and matter and the controller of both. That is Atma Tattvam, real knowledge, spiritual knowledge. So, it has to be attained from a Dhira. A Dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized. That means the teacher must be a bona fide spiritual master, a pure devotee, completely self-realized devotee of Krishna, and he alone can be the real teacher of mankind. And therefore, we are actually speaking, we may not be liberated, but we are speaking what is spoken by that great Acharya. According to the Prabhupada actually explained from the scriptures. So, it's all not whimsical. It's very authorized knowledge. So, therefore, such devotees should lead the world, and the world will be such a better place. In fact, the other day, I think when we were doing Nectar of Instruction series or something, one gentleman actually commented on our class, and then he said, this Hare Krishna Pandit man who is speaking, he can actually solve the problems of the world. Just this simple Hare Krishna Pandit man, he wrote like that very nicely. It's not that I'm bragging about myself, I am not no way qualified, but that's actually true. A devotee, true in the sense, a devotee who understands what is what, he can actually solve all the world's problems. Actually Prabhupada, not anybody else. Prabhupada, he can solve the world's problems. And of course, if we, take his guidance, we can also do it. Every one of us, we can help solve the world's problems if we are given the facility. Yes, definitely. But they don't care. The leaders don't care. So, we can just try to educate the general mass of people as much as is possible. If more and more people understand this, the more and more the world will become a better place. We try to, reach out to people using the social media and everything. But if the government's help was there, everywhere in all parts of the world, then the governments actually, just like they have policies, right? Government policies, and everybody, like when the government says everybody have to put masks, and when you go out, we have to. And like at least in Singapore, that is now the rule. Everybody if they are going out, they have to put masks. So within overnight, they can get everybody to follow. You see that? Similarly, if that support is there by the Kshatriyas from the government, the world will be such a better place. Immediately all these principles can be put in place. But now without the support, it is difficult, very difficult, mammoth task. In fact, it is like going against the stream, because the propaganda is in one direction and we are going in the opposite direction. So it is very difficult, but still we have to push through. That's what we live for. In Kali Yuga, we have to just somehow exist and then help as many people as we can. And if people take to it, and Prabhupada actually, you see, within a span of 12 years, he has a whole world. So it is possible that even with so that's why there is nothing that can stop the progress of the Sankirtan movement. If we become strong, if we become pure in our conduct and in our practice, then we can be able instruments in the hands of Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna to spread this movement far and wide. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized, at which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. Such a person is actually a teacher, real teacher. A dhira realizes that the material body and the mind he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain. What is this best use of a bad bargain? Prabhupada used this phrase many times. That means we have asked for it, this material body. We have asked for it because of our previous actions. So, we have bargained for it basically. I want this, I want this. This was our desires and this is what we deserved, and according to our desire and what we deserved, Krishna has given us this body that we have now. So we bargained for it, we worked hard for it. Just like when you go into the market, when you bargain, you try hard, to get the price down and to get what you want. So we tried hard. By our actions and associations, we have made this body now. Now we have to make the best use of this bad bargain. That means, okay, now I have a material body, fine, but at least it is a human body. It's not like an animal body where I cannot do much, cannot do anything practically. But in human body, I can make a solution to the entire problem. So let's make the best use of a bad bargain. The best use of the bad bargain means to use this human life to get the eternal life. Human life is temporary, so it is still temporary. So the soul is eternal. So to ask for a temporary body which we have bargained for this temporary body, that's a bad bargain because we are eternal. But make a best use of it so that in this few years that we have in this human life, best use of it means in exchange for this few years of life, we should get the ultimate eternal life in the association of Krishna. So that is the best use of a bad bargain. The material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world. The living entity has actual functions in the spiritual world, living spiritual world. But this material world is dead. Why it is dead? Because nothing moves here unless we move it. We are living beings, so we move it and then everything moves. Yayedam dharyate jagat, 7.5 Bhagavad Gita. We move this material world. Anything like this Singapore was a swamp, was just like uninhabited island, which with very, very backward. Even Indian villages would have been more advanced than what Singapore was about, say, 70, 80 years ago. I have seen a picture of in 1923 of Orchard Road. So Orchard Road is like the center, the sparkling, glittering center of Singapore. Where all the bright shopping malls and the big road, and it's like the pride of Singapore. And that road in 1923, you know what it was? There was no proper road. It was an off-road kind of. There's no tar at all. There's no blacktop roads. It was just like, a village, complete village. And a woman was, carrying some basket with some, I don't know whether some vegetables or fruits or some fish inside it. I don't know what it was. She was carrying that, and one other lady was carrying a pot of water, a pitcher. And, it was just like so many trees, and, it was just like an absolute remote village road, which you would never associate with any shopping mall in the next 500 years maybe. That was how it was in 1923. I saw that photo. I was just gazing at it for like more than 5 minutes. I was, what? I just can't relate to it because that's not how it is now. Completely different. So how did it happen? Because there was a man, Lee Kuan Yew, and he worked, and of course others also were instrumental, but he was the one who really sped up the whole so-called urbanization of Singapore And within a very short time, now this is one of the most respected metropolitan cities in the world. So basically, my point is, nothing moves in this world without the touch of a spirit, of a person, of people. So this Singapore was, like that, like a swamp, like a total uninhabited village, like very remote, and very, very few people were living. And from that, it has become this because of efforts from a person. So without personal endeavor, nothing will move. Even a grass, how can it grow? There is a person. The womb inside, the child grows. That means there is a soul. When there is a still, when what is that called? Miscarriage. Miscarriage means when the soul has left the body for some reason, then the body is just lifeless now. So when there is movement, that means there is a soul there. So that means without soul there cannot be any movement. So if there is any movement, that means you should understand that there is a soul there behind it. So the living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. So this material world appears moving and living and hustling and bustling. Actually, it's dead. But the living souls, actually move everything. Actually, it is the living souls, the parts and parcels of the supreme living being, who move the world. The Dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. Very important. Iti Shushruma. Another place also, this Shushruma is there. Many places there, but one other place that I can remember. 6140, I think. Yes. You see that word? Iti Shushruma. Here also, today's verse also, Iti Shushruma. So, Yamaduta Uchuhu. 6.1.40 Srimad Bhagavatam. Veda pranihito dharmo hi adharmascha adharmastadviparyayah vedo narayana sakshat swayam bhuriti shushruma. The Yamadutas replied, that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma, the religious principles, and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. Yamaraj is one of the Mahajans. So we have to hear from a superior authority in the disciplic succession, then that knowledge is perfect. So, just like Arjuna also said, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Majam Vibhum, Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshir Naradatha, Asito Devalo Vyasah Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. 10th chapter, verses 12 and 13. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is speaking to Krishna. The ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. Now, he has given his opinion of it. Now, he is saying, this is not my opinion only. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. So, he is quoting, Iti Shushruma. This is what I have heard. And this is what I have now realized, and you yourself have declared it to me now. So, from all these authoritative sources, I have received this knowledge, and therefore this knowledge is perfect. He is quoting the Supreme Lord, you have told this to me, and all these perfected souls, they have also told this to me. So, as we have seen many times in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the sages, the authoritative sages and the Supreme Lord, they don't make mistakes. Just quickly go through those two verses and come back. So, Adilila 7.107 Brahma pramad vipralipsa karna patav ishwarer vakya nahi dosha esab. The material defects of mistakes, illusions, cheating and sensory inefficiency do not exist in the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we'll go to 2.86. Brahma pramad vipralipsa karna patav arsha vigya vakya nahi dosha esab. Mistakes, illusions, cheating and defective perception do not occur in the sayings of the authoritative sages. So therefore, Arjuna repeated Krishna's words and the authoritative sages' words, confirming his own realization. So if we have something, if we have a so-called realization or some understanding, we have to confirm it, whether Krishna said that, or the sadhu said that, the guru said that, we have to confirm it. If it's confirmed, yes, then it's actual fact. If it is not, then we have to reject that idea. So, iti shushruma, this we have heard from Yamaraj. So, shrotriyam brahmanishtam tadvijnanartham sagurum evabhigachet samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. So, we have to hear from a spiritual master who has heard from his spiritual master. Shrotriyam and brahmanishtam. He is actually on the platform, his behavior is on the platform of completely fixed in Krishna consciousness. Sthita prajna. And I've realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataha. 4.10 Bhagavad Gita. Being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they attained transcendental love for me. So, they have not only heard it, they have acted on it, and they became purified, and thus they attained transcendental love for me, the prayojana. They understood sambandha, executed on it, abhideya, and they attained love for Krishna, prayojana. So, we have to tread that tried and tested path. Where were we? Yeah. By following the regulative principles. To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Shushruma, you see the Shushruma, we have to hear. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from the spiritual master to the disciple. Now, important. The transcendental knowledge, message comes, and also the regulative principles also come down from the spiritual master. Now, not only did Prabhupada give us the knowledge of Krishna, of the soul, of, he explained the whole Bhagavad Gita, he explained Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, well, fine. Then he also gave us the path. It is all there in the Bhagavad Gita that we have to satisfy Krishna, and Krishna asked Arjuna to fight. But in our situation, what is our fight? What is our service to Krishna? The spiritual master gives that, the regulative principles. Chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 principles, and Mangalarati, and take Krishna Prasadam and preach, spread Krishna consciousness, distribute my books, Prabhupada said. So this is our fight. Whereas Arjuna had to fight with his arrows, we have to fight with books. Fight means fight Maya, not fight with other people. Fight Maya by distributing the books and enlightening others with Krishna consciousness. So this is our service. So unless the spiritual master has given us all the services, how would we figure out what our service would be for Krishna? What we should, okay, fine, now I understand Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am His servant, so how should I serve Him? If He did not give any program, how would we know? So He gives both the transcendental message and also the regulative principles and what all the practical things we have to do, so that we can definitely, it's like nothing is abstract anymore, it's practical, we can do it, and we just have to execute on it. So that is what the spiritual master will give. Such knowledge does not come in the hazardous way of nascent education. Hazardous way. So the nascent education system, hazardous way. One hazardous way because the teacher himself is not dhira, and the education is not on the spiritual principle, so it doesn't come that way actually. It comes from the bona fide spiritual master in the disciplic succession. One can become a dhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, became a dhira by submissively hearing from Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead Himself. Thus, the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna. That means he has to accept everything that Krishna says. Not that accept one portion and not another portion of Bhagavad Gita. Or no. Oh, Prabhu, this part I like, that part I cannot accept. It's very difficult for me to accept. That means there is no surrender. We have to accept everything that Krishna says. That is surrender. The perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord Himself. Again, you see, the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord Himself. Not only that he should be considered as good as the Lord, he should be as good as the Lord. That means he should be an Uttamadhikari. He should also be unwavering. He cannot fall down. Uttamadhikari. Again, this points to the same thing, that a guru must be an Uttamadhikari, especially the Diksha Guru. This is the process of learning Vidya, knowledge, from the Dhira, the undisturbed. An Adhira, one who has not undergone the training of a Dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who pose themselves as Dhiras are actually Adhiras, and one cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remuneration in dollars and cents. How then can they lead the mass of people to the right path of self-realization? Thus, one must hear submissively from a Dhira in order to attain actual education. So this is today's verse. So we'll try to take questions now and try to finish it as quickly as possible. Okay, we have some questions. Virendra Prabhu is asking, is Dhira also Sthita Prajna? Yes. So for those of you who do not know what is Sthita Prajna, Prajna means intelligence and Sthita means fixed intelligence. One whose intelligence is fixed, he is a Sthita Prajna. First we will go to this verse. Quickly I will show you a couple of verses before we proceed to the next question. 2.41 Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana. That means ekeha means fixed on one point. Bahushakha hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. This path means buddhi yoga, bhakti yoga, devotional service. They are resolute. Their intelligence is fixed. That is called Sthita Prajna. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. Now, after hearing this, so Arjuna asks, Arjuna vacha, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha, samadhisthasya keshava, Sthita dihi kim prabhasheta, kimasita vrajeta kim. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? And then after this, Krishna explains the next until the end of second chapter, from 55th verse to 72nd verse. He explains the whole characteristics of a Sthita Prajna, one who is fixed in self-realization in Krishna consciousness. So yes, Dhira is Sthita Prajna. Ajanya Mataji, can you explain Bhagavad Gita 18.59? What is there in 18.59? So is it related to today's verse? Yadahankaram ashritya nayotsya iti manyase mithyaisha vyavasayaste prakritistvam niyokshyati. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Yeah. So Arjuna's duty, prescribed duty, because he is a Kshatriya, so his duty is to behave as a Kshatriya. So he has to serve Krishna in that way. So whatever is our position in socially, according to that we have to serve Krishna. Otherwise we are being falsely directed. So according to our position, we have to act in society according to Krishna consciousness. Venkatesh Prabhu, actually, going back to this verse, we cannot concoct our own ways of service. So Arjuna's service was to fight. Krishna did not ask, say, Vyasadeva to fight, or Sanjaya to fight, or Dhritarashtra to fight, or Vidura to fight. He did not ask. He asked Arjuna to fight, because he was a Kshatriya. And Vidura, he was enlightened in a different way. Uddhava was enlightened in a different way. So it is not that everybody has to fight on a battlefield. So our own fights are, like Krishna Prabhupada already gave us. Our fight with Maya is that we have to, spread this Krishna consciousness. That is our fight. So we have to spread this movement. That is our fight. So that we have to do. Virendra Prabhu. Venkatesh, Bhakta Venkatesh. Hare Krishna Prabhu, today is Chidadahi festival. If time permits, you can tell little about it. Well, we don't have that much time. It's already 2 hours into the class, so I think we can't do that. You can read up, Chidadahi festival in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, basically Nityananda Prabhu and Raghunath Das Goswami, and the whole thing is there. You can read up. It'll take long, if I describe all that. And anyway, it's not in relation to this topic, so you can read that on your own. Bhakta Virendra from India. Both devotee and karmi are conditioned in the material world. However, a devotee serves Krishna and a karmi is in sense gratification and bound by Maya. So, how does the devotee escape Maya and becomes eligible to serve Krishna eternally while a karmi gets bound to his karma, whereby getting reaction resulting in repeated birth and death? So, by offering the results of one's activities to Krishna, that is called karma yoga. We have to act for the satisfaction of Krishna. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam yajñarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So we have to act like, a devotee and a karmi can both maybe working in the same office, but then the karmi is just for his own sense gratification for his family and nothing to do with spiritual life, whereas the devotee is chanting, he is taking prasadam, and even the salary also he is giving to the temple and furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. So in this way the results of his activities, although he is working, because part of the money is going to Krishna, is actually a kind of a fundraising that he is doing for Krishna. So he is collecting alms and giving it to Krishna. So that work also becomes spiritualized. So that is karma yoga. So when one is stuck in the work outside, then one has to engage in this way and slowly make more and more steps forward to become more and more surrendered to Krishna. So in that way, it is not that one is not surrendered if he is working, but it takes really hard. It takes really a lot of effort to surrender to Krishna when we are in that atmosphere. So many distractions, we cannot really do our service properly, but we should be very much in the mood of service, and every free time, in the weekends, come to the temple, and even if possible every day, and in the morning, evening, if it is possible. I know the work culture in Singapore doesn't allow that. It's like 12 hours work, practically that is impossible sometimes, most of the time. So at least as much as he can, he should come and engage in service and associate with devotees, and in this way he can progress towards kingdom of Krishna, Vaikuntha, and the others progress towards hell because they have nothing to do. And if possible, if that is feasible, then we can preach to our colleagues or something wherever we are, and then we can make them devotees. Bhakta Kunal Prabhu. So, what is good app to read Prabhupada Gita slokas? You can actually download the e-books, the original books from krishnapath.org, and they can remain in your on your device. You can read them. So that's good for reading. But as we are showing here, like referencing and quickly taking out the verses from here and there, that is very difficult to do in an e-book. So this is another app called Pocket Vedas. This is good for referencing and showing on the screen like this. You can have this also, no problem. I read from the original versions of the book in krishnapath.org. Here these ones are changed. Of course, the change is it is there, but then they don't really change the meaning of the text much, almost nil. But it's not that the changes are authorized. The tendency to change the words of the spiritual master is an aparad actually. But at the same time, the changes that were made do not render Srila Prabhupada impotent to communicate his message. He will still become Krishna conscious in the proper association. So if you want, you can have this app also. It's good for referencing and quickly taking out, even if you want to read. I personally read from the original books in the e-book format. So that's how I read. Then Bhakta Virendra, how do Krishna conscious devotees counterattack the animal propensities of sleeping, eating, mating and defending? Well, yuktahara. It's not that we don't eat, don't sleep, don't mate, don't defend. Yeah, don't mate is for the brahmacharis and vanaprasthas and sannyasis, but grihasthas, they can mate for for procreation, that otherwise eating, sleeping, and defending. Well, defending, they depend on Krishna basically. Minimal, they have some shelter, they have some house, minimal defense. But then mostly they depend on Krishna. They don't have income, especially the full-time devotees. They don't even have income. So it is kind of defenseless, but actually Krishna's protection is always there for the devotee. We have to have faith in that. Sannyasi, Prabhupada never thought of going to America. Will I get an income? When I go there, can I live? He was prepared to even die. That's how we should be. We should not care about what I will get if I join the temple, or what. I should always think what I can give, how I can serve Krishna. Never in this. If I think that what I can get, that's not devotee. That's not devotee consciousness. Of course, as grihastha there will be some concerns, but devotees are very amicable. The arrangement will be there. It's not that if one surrenders, there will be no arrangement at all. No, of course there is arrangement. So sleeping, eating, just minimum for devotees 6 hours. Prabhupada said a day. That should be the 6 to maximum 7 hours, but 6 hours is the ideal. And eating only Krishna prasadam. So that's how we counterattack the animal propensities. Next, Bhakta Abhinarayan Tripathi from, I think, Middle East. Question: Prabhu, as all Veda and Upanishad explain to serve Krishna, likewise explain in Bhagavad Gita Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. But why demigod worship came? And in some of the Puranas it was explained, if you do so and so upasana, you will fulfill desire. I think we have covered this topic quite some times, but if you want to go briefly over it, we can go. So basically, people are in 3 modes: mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness, and sometimes in the mixture of these modes of passion and ignorance, sometimes goodness and passion, sometimes goodness and ignorance, sometimes passion. What did I miss anything out? I don't know. Passion and ignorance, whatever. So people can be in the mixture of these modes. So accordingly, to come to the position of Vishnu worship or Krishna worship, one has to at least come to the mode of goodness. And actually, even in goodness, it is not there. In Shuddha Sattva, it is above even mode of goodness. So when people or pure goodness. In pure goodness, one worships Lord Vishnu. But people are in all kinds of modes, right? So, and they are not interested in selfless service to Vishnu or Krishna. So, they just want their own sense gratification. So, we have already covered this. I think you have already listened to this. We'll go there. 11.21.23 फलश्रुतिरियं नृणां न श्रेयोरोचनं परं श्रेयो विविक्षया प्रोक्तं यथा भैषज्जरोचनं. Those statements of scripture promising fruitive rewards do not prescribe the ultimate good for men, but are merely enticements for executing beneficial religious duties, like promises of candy spoken to induce a child to take beneficial medicine. So demigod worship will promise you life in the heavenly planets. So for a materialist, that is, oh, very good. No, this is very nice. I can have a higher standard of life and I can enjoy more. For a longer amount of years, for thousands and thousands and millions of years sometimes. So that's all very good. It appears very nice. So that attracts him to do those yajnas. Otherwise, he has nothing. He will not do anything in the terms of devotional service at all. So in those yajnas, when you are doing demigod worship, for example, to go to the planet of the demigod or to satisfy some material desire, in that yajna there is also the worship of Vishnu involved. So once we worship Vishnu, then so although it is not exactly by devotion that one is worshipping Vishnu, but at least he worshipped Vishnu, because to worship any demigod we have to worship Vishnu and offer the share of the sacrifice to that particular demigod. So it is like offering the prasadam of the share of the sacrifice to that particular demigod, and that is how to satisfy any demigod. So the worship of Vishnu is already there in every demigod worship. So in that way he is introduced to Vishnu worship in an official way, not in a devotional way, but officially we have to do it. So in that way at least he is doing something. So Krishna, he is so kind, like even Putana, she came with the offensive mentality of killing Krishna, and still he gave her, a position of mother. So even if that inimical mentality, Krishna has rewarded her, and any demon that comes to Krishna and he kills, he gives liberation to the demon. So what to speak of those who are like not inimical exactly, but at least are willing to perform some yajnas, even though they have sense gratificatory pursuits. So that is what Krishna accepts. Okay, at least he has done something good, Okay, slowly that person advances and advances and advances, and after many millions of lives, not, I don't know, millions, or depends on when he gets the mercy of a pure devotee, sometimes hundreds of lives, sometimes tens of lives, sometimes thousands of lives. After many lives of doing such pious activities, he comes to the point of meeting the devotees, and there he makes complete end to this fruitive activity. Chapter 7, text 28 of Bhagavad Gita. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandvamoha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So after many lives of cultivating pious activities, and then going into philosophical research, that is explained here, 7.19. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. But after many births and deaths. So, by doing this for many births and deaths, one will come to the point of actually surrendering to Krishna. And Krishna says, such a great soul, some Mahatma. He is actually a Mahatma, not Mahatma Gandhi or anybody we just put a title of Mahatma. We cannot give the certificate. It has to come from the authority. Krishna has to give the certificate. Who is Mahatma? Not we decide ourselves, Oh, the general people will decide, okay, this is Mahatma now. So, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, who has surrendered to Krishna, he is a Mahatma. And he is very rare. Very, very rare. So that, what is the next question? So this is Rabinarayan Prabhu's question. I hope that is understood. So basically, why is there so many demigod worship and this and that? Because to give facility for all kinds of people to come into the fold of Vedic civilization and slowly accept the principle of Vishnu worship in an indirect way, and then slowly over many lifetimes in a direct way, and then coming to the actual point of liberation and love of Godhead and all these things. So instead of just those who are interested in Krishna consciousness, all right, you follow Krishna consciousness, others just go to hell. Instead of saying that, others, you're not interested, all right, fine, you're interested in heavenly life, you want more sense gratification, all right, fine, here it is. Here is some yajna process, you can get more sense gratification. So promises of candy to induce the child to take the medicine, which is the medicine is the actual that Vishnu worship that is done in those yajnas. But for them who are after material sense pleasure, they are least interested in that part of the whole yajna. They want that result of sense gratification, but at least they have done that little part, and actually that is the essential part. But for them, they think the real essence is to get the heavenly pleasures or even pleasures in this life or whatever it is. But they don't know actually. So for the child, taking the medicine is not the real thing. Candy is the real thing. That candy is what he wants. But actually, the real thing that works for him is the medicine, because he's sick and he needs to take medicine. The candy really doesn't help him. So, but in order to induce him, you got to show something. Because he is so immature. A mature person, a grown-up person will understand, yes, I have to take medicine, bitter or not, I will take it. He will understand. And even if sometimes he has to undergo surgery, he will agree, all right, if this is what I need to do, so okay, fine, I need. So he will voluntarily, go under the knife, because he understands, okay, that's what I need to do. I have a problem. But the child doesn't understand he has a problem. The child just wants to enjoy. So those people who are karmis are like immature children, like completely brainless. So they need some like some pampering. Okay, then that's why this demigod worship is there. Okay, you want heavenly pleasure, go. So pampering. So that's candy. So that is what this demigod worship is all about. Otherwise, Krishna says, Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhayarchitumicchati tasya tasyachalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Then what happens? Sataya shraddhaya yuktas tasyaradhanam ihate labhate cha tatah kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Even though he gets those desires from the demigods, actually in the background, Krishna is supplying. For example, like a crude example. When you order these things online, like Lazada or Amazon or something like that, you go to Amazon. You think Amazon is the place where I can get all what I want, but then that system, Amazon, there is actually another supplier who is supplying, and that shop who was setting. So there is a background supplier. You see, that's a very crude example. Prabhupada gave this example, like the government officer. Like if I want something from the government and I go to this minister, a downline minister, not the prime minister, some downline minister, and I ask him some favor. Okay, I have this problem. I need some solution. Then you go and meet the minister for this, and then he will say, okay, let me see what I can do for you. Then after 1 month or 2 weeks or something, he will ask you to come back. And within those 2 weeks, what happens? So after 2 weeks, he said, okay, fine, approved. So in that 2 weeks, what did he do? He consulted his higher authorities. And if it comes from the prime minister or his agency, that okay, fine, granted, then he will in turn tell us granted. Although it looks like it comes from him, it actually comes from the prime minister. So that's how these demigods are just proxies. They are proxies because we are not interested in God. So he presents these proxies. Okay, you're not interested in me. You go. You approach these. But actually, I am from the background. I am supplying I am the supplier of whatever they are giving you. I am giving. Mayaiva vihitan hitan. Therefore, antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Next, Virendra, Bhakta Virendra. Question. Presently, people, especially youngsters, are addicted to seeing sex or porn. Is seeing sex equivalent to illicit sex? Is sinful and stops our Krishna consciousness progress? Sorry to ask this question. Yes, there are 8 kinds of illicit sex. Let me see. Where is that verse? Okay, I can show you one which I know, but 11, 17, 33, I think. Okay, so see, Strinam Nirikshana Sparsha Samlapa Shvelanadikam Pranino Mithuni Bhutan Agrahastho Gratastyajet. Those who are not married, sannyasis, vanaprasthas and brahmacharis, should never associate with women by glancing, touching, conversing, joking or sporting. Neither should they ever associate with any living entity engaged in sexual activities. So glancing, glancing is just like one glance. You see all the time the whole thing, completely naked and all this porn. What is this? So this is, completely beyond the purview of, Okay, let's see another. Nishkinchanasya bhagavad bhajanonmukasya. Madhya 11.8. Nishkinchanasya bhagavad bhajanonmukhasya param param jigamishor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishainam athayoshitam cha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshanatopya sadhu. Greatly lamenting, the Lord then informs Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification or seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. And these people are promoting pornography. How degraded the society, and even India has become like this. Complete rubbish. So, there are innumerable verses against sex life and against, seeing a woman. What happened to Ajamil? He watched porn live. Not live stream, live. And what happened to him? Whole life sinful. Somehow or other he did some Krishna Bhakti in the beginning of his life. That saved him and the last point of his life. Swalpamapyasa dharmasya. At least he was saved. Nowadays people don't even have that asset of Krishna consciousness in their lives. Completely gone. What will happen? Complete sinful activities. Animal life. And the next life just going to animal life. Then pigs are better, no? Pig life is better. Because in human form of life, if their whole life is about sex, then pigs are better than humans. They don't need to even wear clothes. Why? Porn means, why? Otherwise they would wear clothes outside, otherwise they'll be arrested, right? Pigs don't need to wear anything. This is, all the animals, they don't wear anything. Naked you can go and have sex with mother, sister, daughter and everything. And produce half a dozen children every 6 months. Good life. So they're asking for these kind of life forms by doing that. So foolish. Bhaktar Abhinarayan Tripathi. Question. Prabhu, in all Satya, Treta, Dwapar Yugas, kings under the guidance of Rishi Muni was doing Putrakameshthi Yajna, Rajasu Yajna, Ashwamedha Yajna to fulfill their material gratification. Why as so? There were kings who were karmakandis. They used to do they wanted heavenly pleasures. At least they acted according to Vedic rules. But devotees like Yudhishthir Maharaj also performed Rajasuya, Ashwamedha. But he did because it was ordered by Krishna. Krishna asked him to do, he did. So, although he seemingly did similar things as a karmi would do, but he actually did it on the order of Krishna. So, he was not actually interested in any supremacy or anything, but just because Krishna asked him to do so, he did it. And when Krishna left the planet, he just left this world. He was not concerned about remaining here and becoming a big lord. And he just left the world. He walked to the Himalayas without even speaking a word. Okay. There is... Oh, good. There is 8 kinds of illicit sex life. So this is from where? Srila Prabhupada lecture. Okay, thank you for that comment. So 8 kinds of illicit sexual activities. Smaranam, Kirtanam, Keli, and actually indulging in sex life. Prekshanam, overlooking a nice boy or nice girl. Prekshanam, is that what the verse was? Prekshanam, I don't know, where is this? Guhyam Asanam, okay, let's... Prekshanam, I don't know if it is to be found. Prekshanam... No, this is not the one. Well, I don't know exactly, I need to find this verse. So anyway, we'll read from the comment. Maybe I'll put this on the screen. Okay, I'm completely covered, but I don't think you can even read this because you have to probably pause it because after 15 or 20 seconds it will go away. I'm just reading it. Smaranam, Kirtanam, Keli, and actually indulging in sex life. Prekshanam, overlooking a nice boy or nice girl. That is also against brahmacharya. Guhyam asanam, whispering between girls and boys, that is also against brahmachari. Guhyam asanam sankalpam, then determination of sex life. Like, okay, let's how to, making plans for doing it. Vyavasaya, endeavoring how to affect sex life. So when we can stop all these activities, that is real brahmacharya. It is very difficult at the present age. Etan maithunyam ashtangam pravadanti manishinaha vikarita brahmacharyam eda ashtanam lakshanam iti. Wow, I really need to find this verse. So brahmacharya means that you cannot think of sex life, you cannot talk of sex life, you cannot whisper about sex life, you cannot endeavor for sex life. These 8 types of activities in sex indulgence are against brahmacharya life. But here it is prescribed that if you want to make solution of the problems of life, then you have to adopt a life of tapasya, austerity, which begins from brahmachari. Srila Prabhupada lecture to Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 6.1.11, New York, July 25th, 1971. It's a very good verse. I mean, where to find it? I don't know, 6.1.11, what is that? Let's see. 6.1.11, what is the verse? Or is it anywhere in the purport? No. Anyway, we will have to find that verse from somewhere. Prabhupada is quoting here. So anyway, thank you for that reference. Who Radhika Sakhi Mataji. Alright, I think that's the end of... That is the end of... Yeah, so all the kings were not devotees, They were karmakandis also involved. And sometimes they are devotees, But still they were rajarshis. It's not that they went against Vedic rules and regulations. Even those people, they used to do all the sacrifices, even if they were not pure devotees. They used to do all the sacrifices according to, the Vedas and everything. They never went against the Vedas. So gradually they were elevated, and some were actually exalted devotees. Alright, we will stop it here. Thank you very much. We'll see you again tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Śrī Īśopaniṣad ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Chiradahi Utsav ki jai. Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.